Hello and welcome back to the Oh No 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 podcast, where tonight we're going to be looking ahead to Saturday's home game against Hamilton Academical. With Chris Dooling leaving the Partick Thistle job, that means that Rovers are down to just 50% of the managerial departments in the league this season. And as Barry Robson looks to replicate an impressive 3-0 win at New Douglas Park, he's ideally looking to pile the pressure on to John Rankin. I'm your host this evening. We've got in Duncan, who's been exceptionally hard-working the night off after his podcast that he did with JJ and Kev Bretto from the Community Foundation. I'm your host, Robbie Weir, and I'm delighted to be joined firstly by Scott Fleming. How are you doing, Scott?
Yeah, all good, mate. As we said on Sunday, it was a rather good weekend after that performance, so much more of the same on Saturday would go down really nicely.
Yeah, it's always been the follow-up question that's been the issue this season, shall we say. Also joined by, over in Barcelona, we've got Carol Smith. How are you doing, Carol?
All right. It feels like ages since I've been on, and it feels like ages I've been on since after a win and feeling slightly positive. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely nothing's happened of substance since your last appearance on the podcast. And also, of course, we've got Blair Hopcroft. How are you doing, Blair?
Very well, mate. Very well. Being on after a win is definitely nicer. If there's a hype train, then I've got a ticket.
Well, I'll be joining you on that hype train. Of course, there has been a lot that's gone on since your last appearance, Carol. I just wanted to get your thoughts firstly. Just a wee throwback to last week. A sign that a host is struggling for questions. Just your thoughts on the departure of Andrew Barrowman and just that surprise that's came out last week, tail end.
It was a shock and a surprise. I've had a lot of interaction with Andy Barrowman trying to organise things for International Women's Day, and always found him easy to work with, but so it was a bit of a shock. I just want to echo what everyone says. The club's definitely in a better way than when he left it, and want to say thanks for all the work. But yeah, definitely a shock, but we'll see where we go next.
Yeah, I did. I dropped him a short message, just to wish him all the best for the future. And he did sort of say that he didn't come in as a Raith Rovers fan, but he's definitely saying that he's left as one, which I thought was nice to see. But yeah, just can only echo what you've said. Blair, just for yourself, a 3-0 win against Partick Thistle. What did you make of the performance? Obviously thrown back a bit to last week, and I'll give you a bit of room as well, because I know that you're quite keen to speak about Stuart Barrigan's head loss, and I can never get enough of that. I've watched it about 400 times, so give me your thoughts.
Oh, that was glorious. What a game. Honestly, it's probably the most fun I've had at Starks Park certainly this season, but in a good while. It had everything, like good performance, kind of team set out with a game plan, stuck to the game plan. The game plan worked. Their goalkeeper is mince. Like, given that corner, I swear to God, I belly laughed, like proper full-on belly laughed at the corner. And little did I know, that was just the start of it. Like, it just got better. And you could see it happening in slow motion. I love Hammer anyway, but I love that photo of him just laughing. I was like, it's beautiful. And I listened back to you guys doing the post-match. I was gutted. Couldn't be on. I was at Fife Ice Arena watching the Flyers get pumped again. Like, of the worst reason ever not to be on a podcast. But I agreed with everything you said, like why he was still marking him after all of that, how he stayed on I mean, to be fair, I think Duncan deserves credit for trying to be generous with it was nowhere near the ball. For me, that's the reason he should have been sent off. Like, do you know what I mean? The fact he was nowhere near the ball, it was just an absolute calamity. But what a performance. And to have a team not have a shot in 90 minutes and it not be us was glorious. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad that we gave you the opportunity, the wee soapbox there to sing it, because I know that you were very vocal. You were the first one on like podcast before 3:00 on Sunday, and it's just again, unfortunately, the way that it worked out. But
totally,
we'll roll it back anyway. So yeah, we turn our attention to Saturday's match against Hamilton Accies. Again, familiar foes. We played them quite recently at New Douglas Park, as I touched upon. Again, won 3-0. Relatively comfortable game there. Scott, during the week, we got leapfrogged. Am I just making up a word there? By Morton. Overlapped by Morton, who beat them 2-0. Just in terms of that, Accies really out of sorts away from home. I believe they've only won one in the last 5, certainly, on the road. What did you make of that result? And just the pressure that's been put on John Rankin in recent weeks, just it's kind of spiralled, obviously. Got a bit of respite with that one against Queen's Park, but what have you made of sort of their predicament at the moment?
They're just a strange club, like, in general. Like, I don't. There isn't anything else other than that you can say about Hamilton. To be honest, the result they got on Tuesday night was kind of what I was expecting. I thought that Morton would just have enough at home, especially to deal with them. I was a wee bit surprised that they maybe didn't score, because that's one thing they have actually been able to do this season, is score goals. The problem has been at the other end for them, but in terms of them, away from home as well, I was also surprised they actually went to Hampden and got a result at Queen's Park. I mean, it's probably a classic case of the whole Scottish Cup hangover, which we've seen in previous seasons. When you get a big result the following week in the league, you go, well, it'll just continue, and then it's just like, oh, fall back down to earth when you get beat in at your own standard, basically. But no, going into this game, I mean, we've seen them fairly recently, like you said, so I mean, I don't really see them changing too much. I know that they've brought in another 4 or 5 players or something since then, so whether they are all playing them or not, we'll find out. But it'll be interesting to see what they kind of go with, because there seems to be guys that have fallen out the team since we beat them 3-0, and guys that have came in since then as well. So I really don't know what sort of team John Rank is actually going to be putting out on Saturday, but I think it also helps us that they played Tuesday night, because I can imagine it was probably quite a tough game for them as well, quite a physical game if it's Morton away. It's always that sort of game, so hopefully they're a bit leggy come Saturday, and we can kind of, the fact that we've had a full week to prepare for this game, that's an advantage going into it. And just finally about John Rankin, I think he's been in this position for about 2 seasons, it feels like, for him. Like, the amount of times that Hamilton have, basically, their fans have revolted against them when he got relegated. Then even during the League One season, when they were up against that Falkirk side that went unbeaten, they still were after him. They got promoted, they were still after him. And then they're, again, this season, still wanting him out. So, I mean, at some point he will go. It's just when.
Yeah. I think to take it back to that, the Morton game that they had during the week, I did notice that sort of John Rankin was saying that they decided to almost go toe-to-toe with Morton and go quite physical and long ball. And yeah, just really, it just seems a strange decision because of again, Morton, when you look at their centre-backs, Jack Baird in particular, he's just going to header away everything all day long. Like, it's like he's built for it. So yeah, I think that how different they actually turn out to be against us this weekend is another question entirely. But even then, we went against them at New Douglas Park and we absolutely ran them ragged, their centre-backs. Blair, Scott mentioned that I'd call it a revolving door, but there's nobody coming out of it. It just feels like people going in. Charlie Telford, the latest to enter the I don't know, giant concrete block that is Hamilton. What did you make of that signing and just their Accies in general? Just give me your thoughts.
It's like a clown car. Honestly, like, there's just more and more and more of them. Like, genuinely at this point, they must have about the same number of players as they have fans in the stand. They can't be far away. Like, I'm not being funny. How are HMRC or whoever no looking at this and going, hang on a minute? Like, the bit that gets me, actually, more than anything, is you go on, like, Twitter or whatever, and they announce Charlie Telfer, who, by the way, great signing. I'm telling you right now, if we'd have turned round and picked up Charlie Telfer in this window on loan, I'd have been quite happy. I genuinely would have been. I think it's a really good signing. And all the replies for Accies fans are like, brilliant, superb, wonderful, really glad to have him in. Nobody going, hang on a minute. How are we paying for this? And the only thing I can think, and there is obviously a possibility that they're not paying for it. It's not completely unheard of for a loan signing to come in where they're not having to cover any or all of their wages. I just don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand how the players can be happy. Like, genuinely at this point, they didn't fit on a bus anymore. Like, I don't know how they function through the week. Players not knowing if they're going to be. I mean, how many fit players are they leaving out of their match day squad at this point? What, there must be about 10?
I mean, even if you get to the point where they've got, like, obviously you're going to get injuries and stuff during the season, but I think somebody counted up that they've got something like 31 or 32 players in their first team squad, or that could be available if they were all fit.
Yeah.
That's almost 3 11s that they're putting out. Like, that, you're getting close to, like, back to Hearts under Romanov era, like where you've got like 30 players training away, and then you're bringing in other players to just train with the first team. It's
what's your limit on a match day though? 18, isn't it? Is it 7 subs? I'm pretty sure the championship's 7.
Sure these days. It might even be more these days because of the 5 subs you can use.
Like, it might be. It just baffles me. I don't know where they're all coming from. Like, and they just keep trotting them out, and ranking keep they baffle me. I don't understand.
He was in the press today saying that they were hoping to sign an extra one as well. Like,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, just really, really bizarre. I mean, with Charlie Telfer, I think again it's that classic player moves up to Dingwall, doesn't get very many. It's effectively the same as Kyle Turner last season. Where it's like, moves up, doesn't get very minutes, and then come January, he's like, actually, not really a fan of this. I'm going to head back down the road, and then he gets a club locally. So I'd imagine that Dom Cowie's been quite eager to get him off the books in the sense that as soon as he wants to go back, he's not getting much game time. Then Hamilton's obviously more than happy to take him on. One player that has been conspicuous in their absence quite recently, Carol, Regan Tumulty. What have you made of that, sort of his disappearance from the squad? Because at the moment, they've not been playing with a sort of recognised right back. He's seemingly fit, but he's just been omitted from the squad based on what's there.
Maybe there is some sort of Bermuda Triangle where all these players just disappear in and don't come out or they're on job share or something, because there is no explanation. 33 in a squad is just, for a team that are, if you look back at like the news headlines last August, we're having players almost walking out because they weren't getting paid. Yeah. Maybe there is some dispute, or he's just not liked, but it doesn't make sense.
Right back triangle, because we know a right back that also was like that last season.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's the loanee that they try and
somewhere
get
on
in,
the M8, something's just disappear.
I mean, I suppose English
loans
loans
making the bench though.
No.
I mean, in what world? I'm not being funny. In what world does Regan Tumulty no make your bench when you're Hamilton? Sorry, there's something definitely no right there, and they're playing. I think they played McDonald at right wing back.
Yeah, it's more of a centre mid.
Yeah,
I think.
Like, but then I'll tell you the other one is Longridge doesn't seem to be getting anywhere near the team either. So I don't know if Rankin just really hates fullbacks.
Longridge had been filling in at centre half whilst they were like low basically on defenders, but then they've brought in like Salami and stuff also for Ross County actually. But since he's came in, Longridge seems to be out the picture again, and it's like, cheers for filling in, but see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also wasn't on the bench through the week. Just having a look. Longridge also wasn't on the bench.
Maybe they're using a bingo machine to select the players, and it's just a different squad every week. Just keep, like tombola, just pick the numbers out of a hat and see who it is.
Yeah, one player that does seem to have returned to the fold, Scott, was Nikolai Todorov, our old friend. He's not scored a league goal this season. How terrifying is that prospect, him coming to Starks?
It's almost inevitable if he starts, or even just enters the pitch off the bench. It's just, the man just seems to wake up when he hears Raith Rovers. I don't get it. Like, you hear about clubs or clubs fans on social media and going, "Oh, that Todero is absolutely guff," and you're going, "Aye, I wish it was the same for us because we see him every day when he scores, basically." Because he ends up I mean, last season when he was at Airdrie, what was it? He hadn't scored a goal for basically the whole season until the January game that we played them right after the new year. He scored in that, looked great for some reason, and then went on a run, and then scored against us again when we played them literally like a month later when they beat us in the Challenge Cup semi-final. Again, looked unplayable that night, and you're going, where is this guy like for the rest of the season? Because he only shows up against us.
Just throw this out there. Maybe it's not us. Maybe, just like the whole Airdrie thing, maybe he just hates Ian Murray.
Maybe.
He's not scored against us since.
Has he played against us since?
Exactly.
That is some classic "Oh no no no" podcast knowledge there for you people. Aye.
That is statistics at their best.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I'm going to sorry to reuse this just because it's transfer talk and it's Accies. Blair, what did you make of the move? Because the Accies, they obviously brought in Scott Robinson from Partick Thistle, but then they replaced him. They had Scott Martin there in the heart of the midfield, the captain. A lot of fans obviously really sad to see him go. What did you make of that sort of switch, the sort of exchange almost of those two?
Again, odd. I mean, Hamilton, I think Scott nailed it. They're weird. They're just a total basket case. But I mean, he was in the on social media, I think it was actually, after he signed for Partick, and there was some kind of veiled thing about the board and not being happy. Scott Martin was something about, like the decisions that were being made or whatever. So there's obviously a lot going on. I mean, you could genuinely have a podcast special, I think, on Hamilton. They have no access to their ground out with match day. So they had a fan forum that they were supposed to have in the stadium, but they don't have access to the stadium. They have sold, now this is all secondhand, so I'm probably going to get this all wrong, so sue me, I don't care. They've sold hospitality season tickets at the beginning of the season for fans to basically have hospitality every game, and fans are turning up at the ground and there's no hospitality, to the point where one of the stories I read was that they were sending out for an Indian takeaway so that they could feed these folk, because they've fallen out with the caterers. There was was it 70 grand or something that they owed the caterers apparently?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot going on. So for a player who is your club captain, your centre of your midfield, that kind of real heart of the team, for him to be going really quite late on in the window in a swap deal for a player who wasn't really playing an awful lot for Partick, another forward coming in that they don't really need, it just, none of it made any sense. It did kind of, I mean, to be honest with you, that week, that closing of the window, it looked like they were going to go belly up. Like, there was stories left, right and centre of players wanting out. There was talk of Ollie Shaw going to, I think it was St Johnstone at one point, were apparently looking at him. Do you know what I mean? There's stories left, right and centre of players potentially going out, and yet they just keep bringing boys in. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's not as bad as it seems from the outside, but it seems like a basket case.
Yeah, it's just, in general, just the rotation in that squad and the sort of way that things get handled just seems bizarre. I noticed that they'd had we obviously lined up against Charlie Albinson when we played them at New Douglas Park, but since then they had Dean Linus in, and it's just one of those ones where it's like, and again, Linus came to us and he was really highly rated by St Mirren fans, and then
he was murder.
Just nothing really redeeming about him in terms of like his time with ourselves. And I get that players change clubs, but just in general, just very little to be enthusiastic about there. I just, in general, Wackies, just, I can only really echo what you guys have said. I just feel like it's just such a strange situation. It's almost like everyone's sort of like, you do wonder about like the governing bodies in terms of Scottish football. and sort of everything that's gone on in the past and where it's at. And you're sort of, they're supposedly buying their stadium, and you're thinking, what on earth is going on here? Like,
was there no talk of them building a hotel?
Yeah.
I was about to say that. I thought that was just my madness in my head. I'm sure I heard Hamilton building a hotel.
Yeah.
Now, several things. A hotel in Hamilton? Who's going to go to a hotel in Hamilton? Just like the place Hamilton. Never mind, like, attached to the football club.
Yeah, good rail links though. It's can get into Glasgow Central, and close to the M8 and the M74, was it? So yeah, that's
it's just such a bizarre thing.
For me, file that next to Hamilton, Cali Thistle's battery farm. As far as I'm concerned, it just seems like, but everything. It's just, you know, when you get a football club where they just seem to be more interested in things outside the football club than the actual, like, try to get people in the gate. That seems like what Hamilton are at the moment. And just all these.
I mean, they have no shirt sponsor.
Yeah.
Their owner is and somehow involved with some Turkish sports company who's making their strips, I think.
He owns the company.
He owns the company. There you go. It's just like no shirt sponsor, right? So there's literally nothing on the front of their shirts, yet they just keep signing boys. I'm like, where is the money coming from? There was what was 1,000 at the game that we played them on the Tuesday night, and we had 498 or something at the game. I think there was 11 difference between the two sets of fans. So they've got about 500 fans going on granted, it's a Tuesday night. You would expect on a Saturday that maybe goes up a bit. But there was a lot of kids in there. A lot of kids. So that's no 500 paying adults. That's 500 bodies in that stand. And a lot of them are young. I just, none of it. And you're saying, quite rightly, like that, the Scottish governing bodies and stuff, how do they not look at this? There's loads of clubs, though, that are in the same boat. I'll tell you one other one, just while we're on it, very quickly. East Fife. They just keep signing boys. It's the same thing. Where's the money coming from? Well, none of it makes any sense.
I don't know if you noticed that, but like, see, with a lot of the clubs down the bottom end of the SPFL, so I noticed Forfar did it, East Fife did it, I think Bonnyrigg have done it for the pitch as well, actually. They've released these sort of, and I think Stirling got in on the act as well. A lot of these clubs in like League Two have basically done like fund their January transfer window type things where they're trying to crowdfund, which, look, I get that you're going to the same body of people time and time again, but it just feels a bit like, right, that's fine, but where's the sort of long termness of it? It just feels like kind of like going back to the same people time and time again. Just because I'm pretty sure that who was it? It was East Kilbride. They did it. One of the guys got an ACL injury, and then they were like, "Can you help us crowdfund the surgery?"
Oh,
they kept signing bodies, and it was just a bit like, there's something a wee bit off kilter with that. It's just does seem strange. But the whole Accies thing, the Daily Mail went in there. I've seen an article posted online where the Mail basically had a journalist in, and they're going about like Scottish grounds. And they were talking about how it's a bright future for Hamilton and they're planning to buy their stadium and this and that. And the local owner just wants to see the team do well and he's involved with local businesses and stuff like that. That's all fair enough, but it just shows no representation for the fans who are all absolutely raging. They want John Rankin out. They're asking, a fair number of them are asking the questions of like, okay, what's actually going on behind the scenes here? Because it all seems off. There's just, something that's very, very strange about it all.
I think also the John Rankin situation is probably the fact that, was it not at the start of this season they gave him a brand new 3-year deal? Or something. Like, no wonder...
Who gives a manager a 3-year deal and then sacks him within 4 months? Come on.
Funnily enough, somebody that's also not on the payroll now. But, no, I think that'll be part of the reason that he's still there. They probably can't afford to get rid of him, like, and then go and try and get another guy in, like that. I think it'll come down to that.
I'm not sure. They seem to be able to afford whatever they want at this point. It's mad.
They seem to be doubling down with him. I mean, you look at the statements that come out in the media, and again, I come back to it, but that Stuart Kettlewell interview seems like an absolute goldmine for anyone who's getting sort of any questions asked of them, regardless of whether you're right or wrong. It seems to be fan abuse is unacceptable these days and should be treated as abhorrent questions or abhorrent views, when really it's people just maybe asking some legitimate questions. I get that it does exist, but
There's ways and means of asking questions, though.
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
I don't think we should be advocating for abusing people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But by the same token, I would say that I think that the Hamilton fans are well justified to sort of look at John Rankin's track record and the selective stats that are getting put out by the likes of Jerry Strain, who's saying he's got a 40% win rate, and then they're saying, well, the majority of that's in League One. Like, we can't really use that because we're beating Peterheads and Edinburgh Cities and getting into the playoffs. So yeah, it's that's more the route that I would be taking with that one. Right. Anyone got any other thoughts on? Yeah, well, I'm just about to get to that. Anyone got any final thoughts on Accies and their non-revolving door?
Just strange.
Right. Well,
Just
what
weird.
we'll do is we'll park the bizarreness of Accies for now, and we will turn to the Rovers after a short break.
Blair,
Yes, mate.
you're a man,
Yes.
and you have thoughts and feelings and emotions.
Yes.
Are you good at talking about all that stuff?
Well, I try my best, but I don't know. Probably not as much as I should.
I'm the same. I feel better after getting stuff like that off my chest, but I don't do it anywhere near often enough. Have you heard about Andy's Man Club?
They're brilliant. They create a safe space for men to sit down and talk about the important stuff. And they do it right across the country as well.
Yeah, exactly. They've got more than 200 meetings across the UK, and it's every Monday night at 7 o'clock, including one at Starks Park.
And if anyone wants more information on it, they can go to andysmanclub.co.uk or search for Andy's Man Club on Facebook. It's okay to talk, and now we're going to get back to talking about the Rovers.
Okay, right, time to focus the discussion all about the Rovers. And yeah, I'll just go to you firstly, Blair. The return of Sean Byrne has been muchly anticipated. Rovers putting out a tweet there that he's back in full training, that he's looking forward for the run-in. How big an addition do you think that'll be back into the squad and make life a bit easier for Barry Robson? Potential options in midfield.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's great to have him back. I think what's even better is the fact that he probably will not get a game on Saturday, because, like, how many times this season would you be like, in the same kind of scenario, oh, it's fine, so-and-so will be back on Saturday, that'll make it better. But actually, the midfield two were really good at the weekend, so it takes a wee bit of the pressure off Sean as well, as much as anything else. It can't be easy. As much as they're footballers and they want to play football every week, it can't be easy when you're coming back from an injury. We've done it with Vaughan a few times, and you chuck them in right into the deep end and kind of hope for the best. But yeah, he's a good player, so having him in the fold is going to do us absolutely no harm whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that, as you say, the midfield duo that we had on Saturday, I know I touched on it in the post-match podcast, but just absolutely exceptional. They were absolutely everywhere. And again, Scott Brown, when we played Hamilton at New Douglas Park, he was probably one of the sort of low-key standout performers, just in the sense that he was always looking for the ball, always passing it about, taking it and shuffling it from side to side and being able to get the ball up pitch and just helping direct the flow of attack. So yeah, Saturday is actually going to be the first of two games that you can get on a multi-deal ticket with the Rovers, including the Queen's Park game as well. Just for yourself, Scott, is that sort of a positive to see, opportunity for people to get into the ground? I know there was a bit of some gripe about season ticket holders and costs and things like that.
Season ticket holders.
Oh, it's nonsense, eh? What were your thoughts on that, Scott?
First of all, like, when I seen the email coming out and the tweet coming out about it, I just thought it was probably just, it's a good thing and also the right thing to do. I think if you're trying to basically get as many folk in the door as you can, also the fact that there's a little bit of a chance of playoffs and stuff like that still lingering about, like, if you can just get a couple of hundred extra onto what we've been getting in recent games and also on top of the season ticket holders, you're back to these sort of 4,000 plus crowds again, where at the end of the day we're playing Hamilton, so whatever the crowd is, you can just take off basically 40 off it, and that will be the crowd for the Rovers. And it's I think, if anything, the players will appreciate it more than anything. Just the fact that it's been such a turbulent season for the players. There's been managerial changes left, right, and centre. There's been other stuff going on off the park as well. The players are just wanting to play football and get on with the season pretty much. But yeah, I think if we can get a few extra bodies through the door to back the lads, then I don't see it being anything other than a positive. I know that obviously we're saying for a laugh about you get the few that aren't happy because they paid their season ticket at the start of the season. I'm sorry, but every club does this sort of, not this specific deal, but there'll be some sort of deal during the season where they're trying to push for you can bring a mate for a fiver or whatever it is, that these sort of deals happen. At the start of the season, yeah, everybody pays their season ticket because at the end of the day, you're paying for the club that you want to go and see, that you love, you like, whatever. Like, I don't see what the big fuss is, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that I mean, it was quite well publicised in terms of like the responses that people sort of going back saying, well, it works out about £15 a game for your season tickets, so you're sort of already, that's what you're getting. But then on top of that, sort of coming in and sort of saying, well, you're actually getting priority tickets for your Celtic game. You're not getting stuck behind the giant pillar at Celtic Park, as so many people have done over the years. But yeah, I know that we're having a bit of a joke about it, but yeah, for me, I think it's a real positive to sort of see an opportunity for people to get along, particularly at times when, again, the cost of living at the moment is just ridiculous. So giving a chance for people to potentially bring extra along and get involved, all for it.
I think that's actually quite an important point. Just really quickly, Robbie. Sorry,
yeah,
like there will be plenty of people who with 2 home games in quick succession that'll have to pick and choose. They can't necessarily go to both, especially if they've got kids, and like you're not just going yourself. You're maybe taking 3 or 4 folk with you. It can become quite an expensive day if you've not, especially if you've not got a season ticket and you've not kind of almost budgeted for that and getting that season ticket. So actually, by reducing it the way that they have, they've pretty much made it buy one get one free, for want of a better kind of way of putting it. And actually, what it means is that people probably don't have to pick and choose quite the same. I kind of get it. Season ticket holders, like, nobody wants to feel like they've been fleeced by putting their money up front. Like, nobody does. But we need to fill the stand. Like, get it full. That has to be the kind of priority.
I think particularly as well, given the sort of atmosphere at the end of last Saturday, I don't know about anyone else, but I certainly felt like just towards the end you were like, okay, we're really kicking on now, we're looking very comfortable in this game, and it just felt like the first time in a good wee while that sort of crowd and fans were together and sort of pushed the same direction, which was, again, it's great to see, and we were just playing with such an aggression that you just felt relatively confident just going forward. One of the big reasons for that confidence, and I don't think you've been on the podcast since correct me if I'm wrong, since he's been back, Carol, is the return of Jamie Gullen, Mark 5. What have you made of the performances so far in our comparison to a Volkswagen Golf Polo through the years?
That was very Boy Racer, the Volkswagen Golf Polo. Definitely over the top of my head. Did not like the Volkswagen Golf. Thought it's a shit car, so not a good comparison. Except
from the latest version, which is exceptional and runs very well.
Quite fancy a new Seat Cupra, but yeah, since Brexit, I can't drive because he screwed over my driving license. Anyway, stuff that. No, I'm really happy he's back. I was trying to go through the group chat because I'm sure somebody mentioned ages when he just left, and we had a problem up front that we said, should we get him back? And someone's, should we get him back? And there was lots of, no, we don't want him back. He'll be there'll be no use. Yeah, there'll be no use. And I always thought he would come back because he's been back several times before, so why not? But this version it's fitter, it's faster, it's smarter, and also he's a wide little so-and-so last week, and I loved it. I'm here for it. Just get in them. Best version ever.
Embracing your inner Daft Punk there. Yeah, it's again we sort of waxed lyrical about how he's been recently, and again Saturday was no exception with that. So Hamilton, he got his goal against them earlier this season, so if he can do that again, fingers crossed. Just a really good opportunity. I feel like, particularly with how Finlay Pollock performed as well. Blair, just give us a bit about Finlay Pollock's performance last Saturday. Just your thoughts on him going into the game. I know that we've been sort of a bit down on Finlay Pollock, to say the least, on the pre-match podcast for our game against Partick, and then we were very pro Finlay Pollock after the game. So, what did you make on that 180?
I got called out by Duncan in the group chat because I'd said, and he's totally misquoted me, but I'd said in the group chat, I was like, I never quite got the negativity around Finlay Pollock. I get that he wasn't fantastic every week or whatever, but for me, he was, whenever he was kind of a bit average or a bit meh, pretty much the whole team was. Like, it was never, he never stood out for me as being a poor performer. There's something about him. He's obviously really quick, but I go back to his debut against Hamilton at home. That goal that he scored, a great finish. Do you know what I mean? Using his pace. But actually, the thing that really impressed me on Saturday was the one criticism I would have levelled at him, and I did. It was Morton away was the worst example of it. Earlier in the season with Neil Collins when we got beat 2-0. Is he didn't look up for it. He didn't look up for the physicality. He didn't look up for the fight. He was kind of running into nowhere, quite often getting the ball and just kind of making a run that didn't really make a lot of sense, and then the ball would get taken off him and he would just kind of give up on it. But on Saturday there was a couple of times he manhandled Dan O'Reilly, like physically moved him out the way at one point. And I'm going, that's no a mean feat for a boy of his age and a boy of his stature. He went kind of toe to toe with Ashcroft a couple of times. I was really, really impressed with his work ethic, and for me, he just, everything Barry Robson talks about in his interviews about what he wants, for me, I think he just epitomises it. And I think you guys picked up on it really well as well, the link up between him and Gullen and how they're very different players. And actually, the thing that Gullen always got a bit of stick for in the past, that running into channels and all the rest of it, he doesn't have to do that anymore because he's got Finlay Pollock running around like doing all those kind of bits. And actually, he can be that kind of forward-thinking kind of striker. I think Robson, either by design or by luck, has stumbled upon a bit of a partnership. And Gullen at New Douglas Park was brilliant. He was so good that night. The goal that I'm trying to remember if I think it's the goal that Pollock scores. It starts with a header for Gullen, and not just, it was such a good header, such a difficult skill to take the ball the way that he did and direct it the way that he did. I'm just really impressed with the way things are going at the moment. Even if the results don't come every week, and they won't, this is where we've got to get to now. Like, we're not going to win every week. It's just not going to happen. But actually, I feel like we're going somewhere. Like, something's changed. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of sort of discourse, shall we say, online about how, with Neil Collins, one of the major things that sort of people had a gripe about, depending on who you asked, was it felt like we didn't really have an identity. And it feels like with Robson, it feels like, right, we're definitely making strides now. And to that end, Scott, Barry Robson, he's been in the job just over 7 weeks now. So do you think he's really going to be sort of really clued in now? I know that a lot was made at the start of his tenure where people sort of saying, he's not watched much Championship football, says that he doesn't know much about the squad. Do you think he's really now going to be sort of honing in on where the strengths are and who to use, where to use them, and what he's looking for from this group of players?
Definitely. I mean, when he said that about the whole, when he first was brought in about, I'll need to take time to assess the squad and what he's got, and then also like to see the Championship. I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm glad he was honest with it, because the amount of fans that would have just probably accepted if he went, I watch every Friday night on BBC and I watch every club in the Championship, folk would have believed it. And then if he was getting it wrong, they would have went, but this guy's saying that he's been watching it. At least he came out and said, no, I've not really been watching it, and I don't really know much about our current squad, so I'm going to take basically the full month of January to assess what I need, if I need to dip into the transfer market, and that's what he did. And we ended up with getting a few signings in, but I mean, I think obviously the first sign of things were changing was that Scottish Cup result at Falkirk. That was the first time we thought, this is different to what we've seen, and this is a sort of style that, I mean, even when we went 1-0 down, bizarrely in that game, like you could tell, like everybody in the stand still would have applauded the team off, even if we had gone on to lose that game, because everybody left the stadium that day going, if we start to play like this most weeks, we'll do better than what we've been doing, and also we're here to watch that sort of football, because you could see that everybody was fighting for each other, closing players down. We were creating chances in open play that we weren't doing early in the season, and it was away from home as well, against arguably one of the better teams in the league this season. So, I mean, going forward, and this is, to be fair, this is one of the reasons why I was willing to put... I was very early on, even when Murray was sacked, to say that I was interested in Barry Robson because of how I seen his time at Aberdeen, especially to begin with, before he got it permanently. This is how he had the Aberdeen playing, was high press. He was really all about trying to get pace into the sort of forward areas, really try and win your battles in midfield, and that's how basically we've been playing recently. And so, yeah, hopefully going forward, this is the way that we're going to play. And the players, to be fair to them, seem to have bought into it as well, because it could have been easily for a lot of them to go, oh, this is our third manager or whatever in a season, and they've all tried to do different things with us. I can't be arsed with it, but they've all been professionals and just got knuckled down, so fair play.
Yeah, it's one where I think that it's really hard to understate that as a factor, sort of how the squad adapts and sort of these changes, because you can have quite sweeping changes, depending on who you get as your manager and where you're going with things. Whether Barry Robson, whether he can sort of sets it up and he sort of expands on that in the summer, obviously a different question. But yeah, just really enjoying games like last Saturday, just where we go out, and I mentioned it on the post-match podcast, but Neil Collins, even under Ian Murray, you never saw us dominate games like that. It felt like, compared to Robson's sort of style and how he's had us set up in these sort of game away to Accies and the game particularly last Saturday. Carol, just what are your thoughts on sort of our more aggressive pressing style? How are you enjoying that so far?
I'm going to go back to last Saturday. We were 3 up, and if you'd done that any other time, we would all be going, well, we're 3 up, but we've got 10 minutes to go. This could still go tits up. But last week was the first time you were actually going, do you know what? I don't feel like we could lose 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. I do not feel like this. I feel like the guys are enjoying playing their football. They look like they're enjoying being that aggressive, that they're getting to play. They've been let out of the traps and allowed to go. It's more aggressive, but not violently aggressive, just football aggressive. I'm allowed to play. I'm allowed to get out.
Not Bannigan aggressive.
No.
See, that's Scott Brown.
He wasn't that aggressive, because it wasn't even like it was a really aggressive. It was just a little schoolboy going, he's got my toy boy and I'm not wanting to play with him anymore, right in front of the school teacher. It was just pathetic.
See that you spoke about in the post-match, but when Scott Brown hit the post just before half-time, that passage of play, to me, that whole thing, they had a short free kick, they took it short, we hounded them, absolutely hounded them, got the ball, and were instantly on the break. That's what's been missing. Like, we've talked about that kind of not having swagger and pizzazz and all the other stupid things that I say generally, but it was actually just, it's nice to see a team playing with a style to it. Like, it's not the same style as under Collins or under Murray, but it's a style and it works. And you look back and Duncan spoke about the Hamilton game and going back and going, well, actually, maybe we never gave them enough credit for how well we did, because we just kind of wrote Hamilton off as being utter dogmeat that night, and actually anybody could have beaten them or whatever. But I don't think you can underestimate the fact that Falkirk completely changed their style of play. Falkirk literally went from being a team who have done nothing but pass the ball for 18 months to playing long ball football because they couldn't beat us. Like, he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and I know that Duncan mentioned this, and I didn't actually pick up on it until he said, but that Scott Brown chance, it came about on the back of a Partick Thistle, was it a free kick or a throw-in? Where Chalmers just
Short
played it in.
kick.
Yeah, and it was very, very lax, but we were so quick onto it. And Carol, you mentioned about the sort of towards the end of the game. Again, we touched on guys like Kai Montague, Lewis Gibson coming on, even Aidan Marsh as well, it was probably been a bit unlucky to find himself out of the team at points, given Robson's preference in terms of who he's playing. But these guys are coming on and we're 3-0 up, and then they're thinking, right, this is a real opportunity for me to go out and just play with a degree of freedom, and being able to go out and sort of try and show why they should be every bit as keen to, or every bit as able to play in the first team. So yeah, that's obviously one to look away forward to. And just final point, Blair, just I know that this is about the 9th time that we've said this, but a win for us on Saturday would obviously put us 9 points clear of Accies. And do you think that would really show an opportunity, just in terms of the headway that we've made over the last sort of month or a bit, in terms of where we're at, and potentially be a real statement of intent? Obviously, we'll be playing it after the trip of Morton to Morton against Falkirk, which I believe is the Friday night game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on that, and just a real great opportunity to sort of be able to create some real distance now, potentially.
Yeah, we said it. I was on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the that you can't really judge Robson on necessarily the 3 or 4 games when he first came in because of who we played or whatever. But actually, now you've got, so you had the Partick game at the weekend. You've got Hamilton, Airdrie, and Queens. Like, that's got to be a chunk of games that you look at as a football manager and go, right, we've got to be doing something in there to be kicking on. It definitely feels like, for me, Saturday was a funny one, and somebody mentioned, it might have been you, Scott, actually, that said about, winning on Saturday didn't mean that 4th was on, but losing on Saturday probably meant that 4th was off. And like, 4th's still on, like, and we're still there and thereabouts. Morton, actually, this really hurts me to say, but they're really coming into a game at the moment. They seem to have really hit a wee streak of form. Turns out no playing for a month at Christmas time does them a world of good. But yeah, I mean, it's 3 big games coming up, 3 big games. And actually, I think by the end of this month, realistically, I think we've got a much better vision of where we're going to be come the end of the season, because we're either clear of that group and actually with a bit of daylight and a bit of comfort, or we're right down in the middle of it because we've lost points to the teams around us.
I think that I keep labouring on the point, but obviously that I know that Lewis Vaughan's had a slight setback in terms of where he's at based on sort of the media reports. But yeah, I think it's we've set ourselves up in a way that we're looking so positive at the moment in terms of that last performance, and we know how we can play. It's just about a question of consistency now. And again, as you rightfully say, it might be one where if things don't go our way, that we're getting dragged the other way. But yeah, it's just really hopeful that we could potentially use this as sort of a springboard for greater things and being able to move forward. Partick seem under a lot of pressure. I mean, just at the moment, obviously Doolan leaving's quite a big deal in the sense that he'd been their manager, got them to the playoffs a couple of times before, and they've just woefully underperformed this season. And they just seem really all sorts. Who they actually get in is going to be a different question. they seem to indicate that they're looking for someone with a bit more experience than Brian Graham, who's got a 2-part press conference apparently lined up with the Herald, Glasgow Evening News, or what is it, with their local correspondent. So, yeah, just a very, I say this about a lot of things in Scottish football, a very strange situation. So, Morton, as you rightfully say, they've hit a real run of form in terms of this unbeaten run going. But again, it's classic Morton, that, isn't it? You hit your mid-season and then they go on this giant unbeaten run. And then Stuparevic apparently got taken off with, I think it was a broken leg or ligament damage, which again,
Oh, really?
during the week. And then Tommy Adeloy came off because he got crocked by Sean McGinty. So with Adeloy, he'll be back for short term. They suspect he'll probably be back on Friday for that game. But again, yeah, just still to play Morton twice, still got to play obviously Accies here and then away. And with the games still to be played at Firhill too, I think just there's a big opportunity going ahead. I think it's just about resetting going into this final part of the season and taking the successes that we have had. So keen to see how that goes and whether we can use it to kick on and get a bit of distance from the teams at the bottom is obviously still to be seen. So let's move on to lineups. So I'll start off with yourself, Scott. What do you have in mind for Saturday? No changes?
Nice and boring. No changes. I literally just... The only change I made to my notes was the starting 11 and I changed from Partick to Hamilton. That's the only change I made to my notes. Sorry.
I never even did that.
I put Sean Byrne on my bench. That was the only addition to the squad because we didn't fill the bench last week, so he'll be able to just slot in on the bench. And I mean, if we're maybe a couple of goals up with 20 minutes to go, what better time to get at least some minutes into his legs and give either Bruni or Matthews a bit of rest, knowing that we've got to go again on Tuesday and then again the following Saturday as well. I think it's then even the following midweek now has been rescheduled that we're playing Livy. So thankfully that's the Wednesday and not the Tuesday, but still it's going to be 4 games in quite a short period of time, so we're going to need probably Byrne to play some minutes in these games.
I've made a lot of stupid statements and asked a lot of stupid questions on this podcast, but that lineup one, has anyone actually got anything different? Carol?
No.
Cool. Right, we move.
No. My only comment on it is still, like, with the goalkeeper situation, I'm quite happy that we're going to stick with the same one, that we don't actually have to test him. I'm okay with that.
Yep, I think
okay
no
with
change.
That. No change. I mean, I love Kev and I would love to see him back but just don't, if he
I
ain't
love
broke,
Kev
don't fix
too,
it.
but that wee clip goal kick to Stevenson. Oh, that was lovely.
Yes.
Very quick thinking from Josh Ray there.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, right. Anyway, we'll move on. As customary in our pre-match podcast, we'll have a Should McStay or Should Dargo, which Scott has prepared for us this week. So how many questions you got, Scott?
6.
6.
6 clues for it this week.
You know I love an era, Scott, so I'm hoping you're going early.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm not any Leslie sort of questions when it comes to this. So there's going to be nothing about oceans or anything like that. So it's
what altitude was I born at?
Yeah,
What
nothing to
time?
do with
Yeah.
that. It's
Nice scrabble.
I've said before, it's meat and potatoes smozzed basically when it comes to my clues. But
I'm in Cincinnati smossed.
so clue number 1: in my whole professional career, there's only 2 clubs which I've made over 50 appearances for.
And you're not even telling us if Raith Rovers is one of those.
No.
That rules out Jamie Gullen.
He might do 50 re-signings, but not
far,
50.
far funnier than I should up, Blair.
It just feels like just pick a random.
50 plus. 50 plus is quite a lot, actually, isn't it? That's 2 seasons.
Aye.
And 2 clubs that did this. So
there's only 2 clubs in his career that he has played 50 or more games for.
So
I'd say we're looking
two
about-
decent spells.
I want to go Sean Byrne.
I'm going to go for Ross Callahan.
Okay.
I'm going Bobby Barr.
I'm presuming this is according to Wikipedia, Scott.
Yes.
Just for the pedants that are out there.
I do have a caveat of that in one of the later clues, to be fair.
According
Right.
to Wikipedia, that source, yeah.
So, clue 2. I have been capped once at under 21s level back in 2006, but never got a senior cap. So there's a bit of an era there.
There is. You've also gone really, 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 really far not to say Scotland. (2006). So if he was 21, let's say he was 21 in 2006. That's 20 years ago. So he's in his 40s. So he's going to be retired, or he's going to be late 30s.
Alan Walker.
Okay.
Could be a good shout, by the way. Because he'd have played... He must have played 50 games for Livy.
And us. And then he went
And us.
Because he went to East Fife.
Yeah, Brechin.
Brechin.
And he'd be about the right age. That does give you an era. I'll go Bobby Sloan. Because he's got to be about the same
Right.
era. But I think that could be a good shout, actually.
Carol?
I can't remember my own name. Ian Davidson. I'm just picking random players that are coming into my head, and that's only because he was on Reminiscent Rovers recently, and it's the player that's popped up.
Again, Rovers in Dundee. Probably not a terrible shout, Carol.
Okay.
It's the cat, yeah.
Clue 3. I've played for 11 different clubs in Scotland, as well as having a stint abroad.
Ooh.
You know what's annoying? It sounds like Callum Elliott. But
It does, but we've already had...
Callum
That's exactly where
Elliott.
I'm at. It's exactly where I'm at.
Was the stint abroad at the start or the end of the career, or is that just asking too many questions? Am I not allowed to do that?
You can do whatever you like,
it was
Carol.
neither.
Okay. Just a stint abroad.
Yeah.
See if it was
Yeah,
one of us.
I
He'd
got
Bad
Callum
quality in
Elliott.
Ibiza.
have definitely told us to fuck off if it was us, Carol. That was
Aye.
good. That was smooth. Well played. I like that.
Just text her then and just ask him for a question.
I'm still not convinced he has to be Scottish either. Gregory Taddy. I think we've had him yet, have we?
Would he have played under 21s for France though?
That's a very fucking good point, Robbie.
Sorry to do that, Blair.
It gets to this point every week where somebody goes,
Yeah.
oh, I'll play with this person, and then somebody just reminds them of a clue and go,
What about
good point.
Christian Naddy though?
Ooh.
Have we not had him already?
I don't think so. Tex
You
Rovers.
can repeat people, I'm
Tex
assuming.
Tex
can,
Rovers.
but-
Just
Yeah, it's
currently
not,
putting
not as
through
much
his
fun.
list. I'm going to go with...
Scrolling through going, No. Yeah.
So
11 clubs in Scotland and a stint abroad.
Plus 2 clubs where he's done more than 50 appearances. So there's been...
So two of them 11 clubs he's played 50 or more games for.
That's a long career, or a really higgledy-piggledy one.
or both.
Or true.
A long higgledy-piggledy career.
Higgledy career.
That'll get updated
This
to
is your
Wikipedia.
life.
I was going to say that's Scottish football, so like...
Yeah.
It has to be earlier than Nadie, I think. If you're playing 21s in 2006.
I think, because Nadie, obviously, he scored against Arsenal for Sheffield United. But I think that was about 2004-ish. So I suspect 2004 is obviously like Arsenal and Vincent.
I don't think he's old enough, though.
Aye.
I think Nadie now would probably only be about 37 or 38, maybe.
Aye.
Like,
think we need
Walker's got to be about 40.
But he didn't
He's
have
in his 40s, yeah.
didn't play abroad.
No, but I'm
No.
just thinking in terms of
Aye.
timing. It's got to be around about that 2008 squad.
Yeah.
Is in my head is where I'm at.
Aye. I don't think Mark Ferry played abroad. We've already had
No.
Ian Williamson. Who else was there? I mean, there was Kevin Smith, but
I think he played abroad, did he?
I can't recall Kevin Smith playing abroad.
Going abroad at that time as well was so rare. That's why you know Callum Elliott went to Lithuania because
actually,
did
just
it.
thinking about that squad, Gary Wales.
Oh, aye. He never came back though, did he? He went to Australia and stayed there.
Aye, he came back to us because he came in for the title run and we signed him and obviously the Pars signed
No, he left us to go to Australia.
Aye, but then he came back for a bit.
Did he?
Aye. Because
I thought there was, didn't he libel me on this, but I thought there was a story about he couldn't come back into the country, or was that Macanesky?
Allegedly.
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 The allegedly is like the podcaster's greatest friend.
Yeah.
It's just such a good word.
Oh, no, he's way too young. I was going to say Ewan Murray. He played abroad for a bit, didn't he?
Non 2006 though.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with. I'm pretty sure I didn't have changed my clue or changed my answer to Gary.
I'm going to have to stick with. Actually, I'm going to stick with Robert Sloan now. I don't think it's right, but
okay. Anyone else changing their answer?
I'll change to Gary Wells.
Right.
11 clubs in Scotland, though.
That's a good point. I remember Hearts. I'm pretty sure he was at Kelly. Maybe
and
Alloa.
us. He's got Alloa written all over him, hasn't he?
Aye. Blair's, Scott's loving this.
I'm just glad it's not me this week.
You know what? Your dad's probably sitting there and he's like, I've got this already. He's just...
No.
Listening to this going, yeah, but was he born near water? Come on.
I'll be shocked if my dad's got it by this point. So, we're happy with our guesses now?
Clue, please.
Yeah? Right, okay. Clue 4. I played 26 times for Raith Rovers, according to Wikipedia. Again, according to Wikipedia, scoring just 2 goals.
What's the Gary Wells then?
2 goals. 26 and 2. So it's got to be a defender or a midfielder.
What
It's
about...
not going to be, mind you, numbers like that could be a striker for us.
I'm going to... this might be a really daft shout, but Dennis McLaughlin might have played under 21s for Ireland. He was over in Spain for a bit. He only scored 2 goals for us, so I'm going to go with him. But the 11 clubs in Scotland just seems a bit much for him. No offence,
Dennis McLaughlin. I can't even remember a player called Dennis McLaughlin.
He played for us in the mine. We had Cool Force on the top.
Oh, yeah.
That's the sort of
I was at uni. That whole era is a blur for me. I was at uni.
Yeah, Blair, I'll tell you this now. You didn't miss much in that era.
That's
Like,
good, yeah.
No, I
John
didn't.
McGlynn.
I pretty much missed the Anelka season. That was like...
I was
that
at uni for
the
that,
era
and
was
I started
every weekend.
yeah.
We wouldn't go back to a player we've already had, would we? I can't get Callum Elliott in my head.
I know. I see him in the all blue Scotland kit. The
Yeah.
Soldier, smack bang in the middle, playing under 21s.
Fuck it, I'm going Callum Elliott. I think Scott might do that.
Machiavellian.
Nah, he scored more than twice, didn't he?
Aye, he did. He definitely did.
26 games and 2 goals.
I always remember Les
Cash,
Lund saying that about him for like his technical ability and training was just like obscene. Callum Elliott.
Aye, you heard that for loads of folk, for like even guys that have played with him at different points in his career, and they said, see if he wasn't just so injury prone, he would have played at a much higher level.
Aye. Right. I'll put McLaughlin for that. We're going to go for the next clue.
Are you anything else for you, Carol?
Nope.
Free Raith TV.
Yeah, basically if it's 2000 to about 2006, very blurry.
And are you sticking with Sloan, or are you going Callum Elliott, Blair?
I'm going Callum Elliott.
Yeah.
I have to. It's the only one I've got that makes sense. But it doesn't even make sense because he scored more than twice.
Okay. Clue 5. I am currently manager of a Lowland League side.
Oh, fuck me. Right. The only one I remember out of the Lowland League, other than Mick Kennedy, is Sandy Clark. Dougie Hill definitely scored more than 2 goals.
Never played abroad.
Never played abroad.
And definitely played 50 times for us.
Aye. And for other clubs. Lowland League manager. Who's the...
I can't even think who the Cowdenbeath manager is now. It's changed that many
Dougie
times.
Hill.
Is it Dougie Hill again?
Aye. Right. Because you had...
Rovers player
This is
that's a
gonna be the ones-
Lowland League manager.
Is this going to be another one of these Berwick Rangers as a frigging abroad thing because they're in England? Is this what we're doing,
Nah.
Scott?
Who's the Berwick
No.
manager?
It's that chat.
Who is the Berwick manager?
Because did Dougie Hill not play in Berwick?
Aye, he did, but he's
That's-
County League manager and he had more than 50 appearances and 2 goals, so...
Is Callum Elliott no the manager of Tranent?
No, he went to Bonnyrigg.
Oh yeah, he did.
Aye.
I swear to God, I thought it was still... I was like, he definitely scored twice. He's definitely scored more than 2.
Right. Is it, actually... I'm going to
Liam
say this, but
Fox.
I was going to say Liam Fox, but he's not their manager anymore. He's up to first team staff.
Oh, is
So
it?
he's not Hearts B manager anymore.
That's where I just got to, like,
Aye.
3 seconds before you.
Aye. I think we'll need clue 6 just because, like...
Well, clue 6, like, it'll just give it away. But like, I'm kind of glad that you are still struggling between you till now, because I'm like, well, it's just fastest to this clue 6 basically to get it. But so nobody else is wanting another guess off that,
Nah.
right?
Got to be
Okay.
a memorable game or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it's very simple. Clue 6. My nickname is Jimmy.
Martin Scott. Martin Scott. Is it...
Martin.
I was
Jimmy
honest.
Scott.
Jimmy Scott.
Jimmy
He's
Scott.
oh fuck, where is he? Gala Ferrydean.
Gala Ferrydean's manager. Yeah.
Well,
Fucking hell.
And I'll tell you
See-
right now that my dad will
Yeah,
not
that-
have got that because he will
That was
barely
tough.
even mind him playing for the Rovers.
Yeah, that was tough.
Aye.
He was very forgettable.
Can we get Leslie back on the next one? Because his ones are actually...
That was really tough.
Yeah.
So where did he go abroad then?
He literally left us and went to India.
India, yeah, that's right.
He went to a team that are now actually no longer exist. Went to play in the I-League and played 6 times for, it was like Sagospor or something like that. But they
Yeah, I
now don't
remember
even
that.
exist. They went
Yeah,
out
I
of
remember him
existence
leaving.
2 years ago or something. So
There was a story about him.
it was,
like,
he
there was
left
some-
us and then went out there.
There was something about him in training though, and he'd asked about whether or not he would be playing at the weekend, and he was told no, so he just sacked it off and went him or something. Like,
I've heard
remember
so
there being-
many stories off of that. See that open goal? There's a
Aye.
few of them
Yeah.
that they've had on where they've been a teammate of his, and they've said like he'll come out with the most random stuff or do the most random stuff that you could think in training, and it's
He was
just
mad.
he's mad as a box of frogs apparently.
I didn't actually know Gallifreydon were in the Lowland League.
Aye.
That was like,
And it was no them that we sent Jake Nicholson for a bit
That
of money.
was.
Aye.
Just walked in and
He
taken us
was.
straight out.
I think he signed there as player manager to begin with. I think he's now just manager because he's 39 now.
39.
Wouldn't it have
Bloody
him
hell.
down
I
as
didn't
being
think he was as old as that.
a youth internationalist as well?
No.
I won one cap for the under 21s in 2006. Couldn't tell you it was against, and you could tell easily that he was never going to play for the senior team.
Aye.
Oh, saucer of milk for you, Scott.
So true though. He was mental.
Well, if
Allegedly.
I don't think there was any allegedlys about it. I'm
I don't
pretty
think
sure
there was
he would
allegedly
own
about
that one himself.
Like he was unhinged.
Right, we'll wrap this one up. So thank you for taking the time as ever to listen. Look forward to being back for the post-match. No doubt it'll be on either Sunday or Monday when the time comes. But if you're at a loose end until then and you are wanting to listen to some more interesting Raith Rovers related content, please make sure that you listen to Duncan's podcast with JJ and Kev
Yeah.
from the Community Foundation.
listen.
Really good listen, really informative, tells you a lot about what the foundation do. So if you are making your way about before the Accies game and you've listened to this one, then obviously, of course, make sure you take that one in as well. Until then, thank you for
We'll
listening.
get your predictions in.
Just got there. I was trying to cut you off because I'm trying to make some headway and people might forget. So if you could just
You're
forget
getting
all
up
about
with the top
predictions,
spot.
go
It's
and
getting
listen to that.
embarrassing
Yeah.
up here.
All right, yeah. All right, yeah. Settle down,
Insider
Falkirk.
trading. I'm calling insider trading.
Right.
I've got all my receipts.
I was going to say he's submitting his at 5 o'clock, no 3 o'clock.
No. He's got the
Tempting.
Hamilton accountants doing his job.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Anyway.
Alright, so you could say I'm cheating, but they're allegedly like cheating on their tax.
We're ending this
How's
podcast. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Go and listen to Duncan and JJ and Kev. They're a lot more sensible than us. But bye for now.